Amen. Thank you. So during the last month and years, we are studying the history of the Sendelo with Elder Tess, and we have understand that God wants to help us to understand this Sendelo, which is coming through the history of the papacy or the counterfeit, the history of SDA, and the history of the Protestant, or In God We Trust, as we call it. And we understand that this history have the same pattern, the same structure, and they are like stone that help us to go from the time of the end to the Sunday law and the second coming of Christ. So this morning, I would like to share with you some thoughts about the line of the Protestantism, and we can see this as an input, some more information of the study that Sister Elder Tess has made. Sorry. So for the need of the study, we will go into we will use the Great Controversy, and I will ask to begin an easy question. In what year the Great Controversy was written? Please, if you want to answer in the chat, or don't hesitate to unmute to answer. I would like to hear your answer. In what year the Great Controversy was written? That's right.
1884, 1888, 1901.
The Great Controversy? You said, you said 1844?
1884, the first edition.
Okay, of the Great Controversy.
Yes.
Is someone has another answer? Is the first one?
1888, the second edition.
Okay, so you speak. Alors, Sister Terry, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, please, or anyone else. But if I screen share, with the, let me see. If I screen share with the Ejirete state, and when I go to the Great Controversy, so we can see the 911 version, but the first one was written in 1888. I am wrong, or I'm okay? It's okay.
No, that's correct. Yes. Lynn
Okay.
1911
So,
in the chat as well.
Okay, she put, okay, 1888. So
yeah, 1888 was correct. I put it 1884 too, so I was wrong about that one, but I know the 1911 one as well.
I think that you speak about the version of the early writing with the spirit of prophecy, and the first writing of Ellen G. White, sorry, but is 1888. So, okay, we are okay for the date. I just want to withdraw something. Okay, but it's okay. So, can you tell me why 1888 is an important date? So the Great Controversy was written in 1888, and I would like to know why is an important date.
That was also going to be a date when Christ could return, had they accepted and done the work.
So a date, but we can say the period of time, because we don't, we understand that Christ will not return in 8088, but in the period of time of 8088. So I agree with you. So it's the period of time when Christ should return. And if someone can be precise on the date of 8088 and answer this question. So I look in the chat. Don't hesitate to unmute to answer. So no idea. So Lynn give the context of the answer. And if I work with her answer, if Christ has to come in 8088 or in this time period, what has to happen before the second coming of Christ? What is the event that has to happen before? We know two waymark.
You're talking about the Sunday law waymark and the close of probation waymarks?
Right, yes, and precisely, I will point to the Sunday law waymark because we know that. So I will put it here. Tell me if you can see the board well, and if you cannot tell me too, I will make a zoom. So we know that 8088 is Sunday law history because we know with Etigens that a Sunday law can be enacted in the United States, but this law failed. So I will put here Sunday law just to say that we are in this history of the Sunday law. And Lynn tell us well that this waymark is important because we understand that if the Sunday law happen, we will have the close of probation and after the second coming. So I will place them in the line. So we have seen that this history is the history of the Sunday law, and Ellen White is here in 8088, and she writes the Great Controversy. The Great Controversy is the first book. There is 5 volumes of the, how we say, if someone can, the 5 books,
Conflict of the Ages.
Patriarch and Prophet. How do you call it?
We call it the Conflict of the Ages series.
Okay, so there are 5 books in the Conflict of the Age series, and the Great Controversy was the first written. And the other one, the Patriarch and Prophet, Prophet and Kings, Desire of Ages, Act of Apostle, were written after the Great Controversy. So the first book of this series has been written in 8088 in the history of the Sunday law, So it's the first point that I want to make. And so in the chapter, so now we can go to the chapter 25 of the Great Controversy. I can share, I can screen share with you. So in this chapter, the title of this chapter is God's Law Immutables. Sorry, Immutables. So I have a problem because Okay, see here. And in this chapter, as she's in 1888 writing this book, okay, you cannot see my face. So in this chapter, Ellen White, we speak about the fact that Christ is entered in the most holy place in 1844, and that this period of time will make the difference. We will see a difference between two group of people, those who keep the commandment of Christ and the faith of Christ, and those who will receive the mark of the beast. So as she said that, she will ask herself, so before asking herself, she will go into Revelation 13 in relation with Revelation 14, and she will, she wants to understand what is the beast, the mark of the beast, and the image of the beast. So we can read it, we will not do it now, but you can read it in Revelation 13. I will give you the reference. So it's Revelation 13, verse okay, I will just give the context. We say from the verse 12 to the end of the chapter. And in this chapter of Revelation 13, she understands that a group will receive the mark of the beast. And she wants to know what is the beast. So I will write here. What is, can you see the board or is too high? It's okay?
We can see it, but you've still got your screen share on.
Okay, thank you. I will, okay. So I will just write down the image, the beast, image of the beast, and the mark of the beast. We will see the board after. So the beast, the image, and the mark. So just to make a resume, she is in 1888 in the history of the Sunday Law period, and she wants to know what is the beast, the image of the beast, and the mark of the beast, because there are two groups of people, one who keep the commandment of God and the faith of Christ, and another group who will receive the mark of the beast. And she wants to understand these three elements. To understand these three elements, she will go back in Revelation 12 and 13. And she will describe the line of history that will lead to we see the mark of the beast. So I think that I had a question, but I forget to ask you this question, but it's okay. We understand that when we speak about the Sunday law, it's in reference to the image of the beast and the mark of the beast. So, so as I said, she wants to understand the beast, the image of the beast, and the mark of the beast that the group of people will receive. And she goes back to Revelation 12 and Revelation 13, and she will trace the history of pagan Rome, the papacy or the papal Rome, and she will arrive in the verse, always in Revelation 13, and it is in the verse, she will quote, she will quote, I haven't looked for the verse, but we know all this verse, so we will not read it, but she will quote the beast like a lamb with two horns that will speak as dragon. So to say it clearly, she will link the history of the lamb-like beast horn with the history of the Sunday law or the history of the mark of the beast. But she will not say the lamb-like beast horn, but she will speak of it speaks like a dragon. So I will stop the screen share just to resume and to help you to understand what I want to share with you this morning. So Ellen White she is here. She is here in 1888, and she wants to understand the Sunday law history. Sorry, is too narrow, but we will continue. And she wants to understand this history. And she go first, so in Revelation 12 and 13, to understand when the lamb will speak as a dragon. So we will, I will ask someone to read. So we will go back to the great controversy. I have something in the... Thank you, Josephine, for the verse that I will look for. It's Revelation 13, verse 11. Thank you. So in the chapter 25, God's law immutable, we will read so I have introduced the subject of the mark of the beast, and we will read GC so GC 441.1. If someone can read, please.
Are you meaning from, and he had two horns like a lamb? Is that where you're wanting to read from?
Yes, and he had two horns.
Okay, so I can read down to where? Just that first just that paragraph?
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Sister Lynn.
And he had two horns like a lamb. The lamb-like horns indicate youth, innocence. Oops, we've gone. Where are we? Sorry, it just moved. And oh, there we go. And gentleness, fitly representing the character of the United States when presented to the prophet as coming up in 1798. Among the Christian exiles who first fled to America and sought an asylum from royal oppression and priestly intolerance were many who determined to establish a government upon the broad foundation of civil and religious liberty. their views found place in the Declaration of Independence, which sets forth the great truth that all men are created equal and endowed with the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the Constitution guarantees to the people the right of self-government, providing that representatives elected by the popular vote shall enact and administer the laws. Freedom of religious faith was also granted, every man being permitted to worship God according to the dictates of his conscience. Republicanism and Protestantism became the fundamental principles of the nation. These principles are the secret of its power and prosperity. The oppressed and downtrodden throughout Christendom have turned to this land with interest and hope. Millions have sought its shores, and the United States has risen to a place among the most powerful nations of the earth.
Thank you, Sister Lynn. So we haven't read the paragraph before, but we'll just try to draw from this passage the more important element for our study. So she said that she sees the lamp-like bigs on in 1798. So we know that it's a really important date for our message. So I will put it on the board, 1798. And she will say that at this time, United States or America has a character which is gentleness, I cannot see. So innocence and youthness. And she will mention those who first fled to America and sought an asylum from royal oppression and priestly intolerance. They are determined to establish the government upon the broad foundation of civil and religious liberty. So I don't know if you have your device and if you can take the passage so you can follow on your device, and I can stop the screen share. So you can see, you can follow on the board. 25. So it's GC 4041. Okay. So I stopped the share. Pourquoi la vidéo ne fonctionne pas? Okay, it's okay because my So Ellen White is here in 1888. She wants to understand the Sunday law history when the United States will speak as dragon, and she will go back in the past in 1788 first, and she will point the character of United States, but she will mention two important things, which are, if you, I will say it, which are the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So when she speaks about the Declaration of Independence, if you have your device, I will just you to quote what the Declaration of Independence comprehends, what we can find in the Declaration of Independence. What is the principle which are in the Declaration of Independence?
All men are created equal.
Okay, so the principle of equality. What can we found? Equality. If I can, we can, if when we read the text, we can see life. Are you okay?
Yeah, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, inalienable rights.
Exactly. So exactly. So life, liberty, and happiness. When we speak about the Constitution, what are the principles of the Constitution? What can we find as principle in the Constitution?
The right of self-government by the people.
Yes. So self-government.
Freedom of religious faith.
And yes, religious faith, the freedom of religious faith. And there is something just before
The right to
the
vote.
one you mentioned. Yes.
The right to vote. Yeah.
The right to vote. The vote to vote and to elect the people. So I will just put election and vote. Election. We know that popular vote is important because in some places we can just give this right for a group of people, but not all the people. But in the Constitution, it guarantees the right for all the people. So election and popular vote. And the last one that Lynn mentioned is freedom of religious faith. I don't know if you can see because I'm really in the bottom of my board. Okay. So she referred to 1788 and she said that these two documents are important for United States and they are unique with the character of United States when we see it as a lamb like born beast. And if we return in the text, in the passage of the Great Controversy, she will mention a group. She said, among the Christian exile who first fled to America and sought an asylum from royal oppression and priestly intolerance, were many who determined to establish a government upon a broad foundation of civil and religious liberty. So she's speaking about what group of people? If you can give me your ideas. What is the name of this first group of people who fled the intolerance of the papacy, of the Anglican Church, of the kings?
Was it the
exiles
Pilgrims?
or Protestants?
But can you be specific? If
Christian exiles.
Christian exiles. So, but I will. So maybe I didn't have make the context, but the first not exile, but the first people who came to is not the first. Sorry, is the group, the more important who came in United States are from England first, and after Scotland, and the other isle. There is Oslo from Holland for other region, but the group, the big group were from England. So when she speaks of the first exile of maybe we can see something. Not in this passage, we cannot see it, but we will go in another passage and we will see it. So she's speaking about the Pilgrim Father. If you go up in the text, in the previous paragraph, she speaks about the Pilgrim Father. So we understand that she's speaking about the Pilgrim Father, who are the Puritans who come from England. And in what year the Puritan come in America?
Puritans. The continent road.
So I will write in 1620, when the first, not really the first, but the first group of Pilgrim Fathers, of Puritans, came in United States in Plymouth, in Massachusetts, in the north of America. But just for you to know, because I think that you know it, they are not really the first group. They are the second group, because the first column came in 1607. So what I would like to, I want to share here is that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution was the desire, really the desire of many Puritans who look for, I will give you the words, in the passage it is said, they want a government based on civil and religious liberty. So they want a government, I will just make government based religious and civil liberty. So I will make a resume of this first part, so we can follow for the next part. As she tried to understand the Sandelo history in 1888, Ellen White will go back in 1798 with the birth of the United States, because she understands that United States is in link with the beast, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast. As this nation will begin its journey as a lamb-like on beast, she will end speaking as a dragon. And to characterize the birth of United States as a kingdom of the Bible prophecy, she will speak about the two important documents of United States, which are the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And she will link this document to the desire of the first Puritan who came in United States, and their desire is to have a government based on religious and civil liberty. So I will erase the board. I don't know if you want a picture just to go back after to follow the logic I tried to put in place. I will just take it and I will send to Terry if you are okay. You want or no?
Could you please take a picture?
Okay, I will. So we know that the principle of our studying is that to understand the end, we have to go back in the beginning. As Isaiah 46 verse 10 teaches that to understand the end, we have to go back to the beginning. And as we want to understand this history between 1844 and the close of and the Sunday Law, and Ellen G. White, go back in the past, and we will do the same to understand this history. So now we will go, because we understand that these documents are the desire of this group, the Puritan, the Pilgrim Father. We will go now to the chapter 16 of the Great Controversy. The Pilgrim Fathers. So it's GC 289.1. I will screen share. So I have something in the discussion. Okay. Someone say godless. Godless. Why godless? If it's Omni who said godless, what you want to say? So we will go to in GC 289.1. Okay. Okay. Omni want to say that the Constitution is a godless document. Okay, so it's not. We will not speak specifically about that, but the Constitution is used for certain person as a godless document. I'm okay with that. So I will not read the beginning for time. I will not read the beginning, but we will try to focus on a paragraph. Okay. I will just make an introduction for this passage. Mon texte est parti, pourquoi? I cannot see my document anymore. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Okay, sorry, I don't know why I cannot see the document on my computer. So for time, I will I will begin to introduce, and if someone can get his device and take the chapter 16, because I will need you to read for me, please. Okay. So the chapter 16 is entitled The Pilgrim Father. In the first two paragraphs, she will make a distinction between two categories of people, two groups of people. She will speak about the English reformer, which gave birth to the Anglican Church, and she will speak about another group of people, the Puritans. And the difference between these two groups is that the Anglican Church, they renounce to the doctrine of Romanism, but they retain the form, a lot of the form of Romanism. And in the other group, the Puritan, they renounce to the doctrine of Romanism, but they don't want to retain any form of its worship. So in the history of the Reformation in England, we can see these two groups of people. So the one who profess the Anglican faith, and the Puritans who want to go back to the purity of the Father, if we can say it like that. So if someone has found the passage, I would like us to read Great Controversy, GC 292.3. 292.3.
Beginning with many, earnestly.
It was the desire for liberty. You can read. Sorry.
I can read.
Someone can read, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was the desire
292.3. Have you got it?
that inspired the pilgrims to brave the perils of the long journey across the sea, to endure the hardships and dangers of the wilderness, and with God's blessing to lay on the shores of America the foundation of a mighty nation. Yet, honest and God-fearing as they were, the pilgrims did not yet comprehend the great principle of religious liberty. The freedom which they sacrificed so much to secure for themselves, they were not equally ready to grant to others. Very few, even of the foremost thinkers and moralists of the 17th century, had any just conception of that grand principle, the outgrowth of the New Testament, which acknowledges God as the sole judge of human faith. The doctrine that God has committed to the Church the right to control the conscience and to define and punish heresy is one of the most deeply rooted of papal errors. While the Reformers rejected the Creed of Rome, they were not entirely free from her spirit of intolerance. The dense darkness in which, through the long ages of her rule, Popery had enveloped all Christendom had not even yet been wholly dissipated. Said one of the leading ministers in the colony of Massachusetts Bay, it was toleration that made the world anti-Christian, and the Church never took harm by the punishment of heretics. The regulation was adopted by the colonists that only church members should have a voice in the civil government. A kind of state church was formed, all the people being required to contribute to the support of the clergy and the magistrates being authorized to suppress heresy. Thus, the secular power was in the hands of the church. It was not long before these measures led to the inevitable result, persecution.
Thank you very much. So remember that in this paragraph, in this chapter, we are speaking of a specific group, the Puritans. They are the ones who fled from persecution in Great Britain and came to America to found, I think that in the previous quotation, we says that they want religious and civil liberty. So it was their desire, but we will try to make this board, a comparison and a contrast, because we will see that now that they are in America, we will see two groups of Puritans. And I put minor to say negative, like a negative group and a positive group. And now we will just take the beginning of the passage that have been read, and we will try to put them in the board, just to make this quotation clear for us. I think it's more easy. So if we take the beginning, it was the desire of liberty of conscience that inspired the pilgrim to brave the perils of the long journey across the sea. So we will go down, and in the paragraph they said, yet honest and God-fearing as they were, the pilgrim did not yet comprehend the great principle of religious liberty. So where we can put this phrase? In this side, it is a positive sentence or it is a negative sentence? They did not yet comprehend the great principle of religious liberty. So I will put here. Are you agree with me? So they do not comprehend the great principle of religious liberty. If we contrast in this side of the board, what can we write here? Trying to make a contrast. It's not good to not comprehend the great principle of religious liberty. So here, so I will answer, it's quite positive to comprehend the principle of the religious liberty. So I will say comprehend the great principle. Acceptance, yes, it can be acceptance, but I think that the text underlines the fact that before you accept something, you have to understand it. And in this part, we will say that in this group, they will comprehend the great principle. Sorry, the great principle of religious liberty. We can see the text in the following sentence, the text said, the freedom which they sacrificed so much to secure for themselves, they were not equally ready to grant to others. So there's a problem here. They want freedom only for them. So I will put here freedom for themselves. And in this group that comprehend the great principle, what can we read right here?
Freedom for others or freedom for all.
Freedom
Yes.
for everyone.
Yes, freedom for everyone. And I will just put in parentheses equality. Okay, so after, in the next sentence, they said very few, even of the foremost thinkers and moralists of the 17th century had any just conception of that grand principle, the outgrowth of the New Testament, which acknowledges God as the sole judge of human faith. So what can we draw from that part?
If
Yes.
there were very few who understood it, there must have been a few who did. So obviously
Yes,
she's saying
yes.
very few of them understood. So therefore some did, just not many.
Yes.
And they had a, yeah.
Yes, thank you for your answer. And the text underlined the fact that God is the only judge of human faith. So as Sister Lynn said, that few understand that God is the only judge of the human faith. So I will write here. Of human faith. And continuing our comparison and our contrast, so here, what came in opposition that the fact that God is the only judge of our faith? For this group, what they want to do?
They want the church to
Church.
judge.
They saw themselves as a judge.
Oh, can you
Yeah.
repeat?
Church
Can
to
someone-
be the judge of human faith.
Yes, church will be the judge of the human faith. So yes, and the doctrine that God has committed to the church the right to control the conscience and to define and punish heresy is one of the most deeply rooted of papal errors. So, if someone is able to understand, to explain, what is the conscience? But we will just continue to read, and after I want us to answer this question about the conscience. So I just will write it here. The conscience. So we can see that because they think that the church is the judge of the human faith, they can define what is heresy, they can punish heresy, they can control the conscience, and this is from the papal errors. So we can see that they kept something from the papacy. While the reformers rejected the Creed of Rome, they were not entirely free from her spirit of intolerance. Here, we will put spirit of intolerance. So this one is easy. Here, we will have spirit of tolerance. What means to bear, to support the other in their thinking, in their understanding. They will admit that they can think differently from us. And it is said after the dense darkness in which through the long ages of her rule, I don't know, yes, the darkness, I want to underline the darkness of the papacy. We understand that this group is still, even if they had experienced the reform, they are still enveloped by the darkness of the papacy. So I will put darkness here. And here, what can I write?
Light.
Light, thank you. We will see light. So speaking about this group of people, we understand that they will reproduce the spirit of intolerance, and they will try to enforce law to favor the church and to constrain people to observe their belief. And if someone wants to say something, just to recap. So I will propose you to see an example for this group. What I want to make, I want to add information, because in reading, we can see information. I will just put them in the board. When you will read again the paragraph, you can see this word. And I think that it's Sister Lynn, I think at the beginning, she says that few have a good conception of God as the judge of human faith. And if you can see here few, in the opposite, we know that many didn't have a good understanding of judge as a human faith, as the judge of human faith, or many believe that the church is the judge of human faith. We have seen equality, and what we can put. Yes. So here, when we speak about darkness, we understand that is in link with the papal errors, and it is in relation with the theology. So I have to put theological darkness, but I refer to theology. Sorry, theology. And when we speak about the darkness of the theology of the papacy, and we have seen it with the Anglican, sorry, that they keep, and I think we can say they conserve, not all, but part of the theology of the papacy, which is in link with darkness. So I will just want to link here this sentence with conservative. Are you okay with that, or it is? Yes, okay, thank you. And by contrast, we understand that if you want to keep some darkness, and this made of you a conservative, if you want to go forward with the light, as we are speaking in the moment, I will say that you are liberal, but we are speaking about truth, about prophecy. So here I will put liberal. When it in the next paragraph, it will speak about someone who really experience what it means to have the church and the state separate. And for time, I'm not sure that we will have time to read. I don't know, Sister Terry, if it's okay, if you say don't care about time, but I don't know if we can continue. Yes?
Please.
Okay, so yes? Okay, if someone wants to read, please, GC 283, paragraph 1. Yes, paragraph 1.
Did you mean 283 or 293.1?
293, sorry, point 1.
It's okay. I could read it, but I'm trying to let other people read it, not just me do it all.
So go ahead, Sister Lynn, please. Thank you.
11 years after the planting of the first colony, Roger Williams came to the New World. Like the Pilgrims, he came to enjoy religious freedom, but unlike them, he saw what so few in his time had yet seen, that this freedom was the inalienable right of all, whatever might be their creed. He was an earnest seeker for truth, with Robinson holding it impossible that all the light from God's word had yet been received. Williams was the first person in modern Christendom to establish civil government on the doctrine of liberty of conscience, the equality of opinions before the law. Bancroft, Part 1, etc. He declared it to be the duty of the magistrate to restrain crime, but never to control the conscience. The public or the magistrates may decide, he said, what is due from man to man, but when they attempt to prescribe a man's duties to God, they are out of place, and there can be no safety, for it is clear that if the magistrate has the power, he may decree one set of opinions or beliefs today and another tomorrow, as has been done in England by many kings and queens and by different popes and councils in the Roman Church. So that belief would become a heap of confusion. Martin, Volume 5, page 340.
Thank you very much. So in this passage, it speaks about Roger Williams. And this this guy, like the Pilgrim Father, really want to enjoy in America the religious and the civil liberty. And the text said that unlike them, unlike whom, I've put the answer in the board yet because I place Roger William here. So we understand that unlike them is unlike this group of people. Yes, the Pilgrim, thank you. So but when we say the Pilgrim, we have to understand now that many of them didn't really comprehend this principle, but few. There are few at the beginning, but we can see that there is two groups. And Roger Williams is part of this group who yet, unlike this group, understands the fact that freedom was the, it's hard to say in French, but in English too, inalienable right of all, whatever might be their creed. So now he's saying that whatever your belief, nobody can take from you this right. It's yours. And what the passage underline is that Roger Williams is a seeker of truth. I just want to point here that he believes that there's a lot of truth to found, to discover in the Bible. He didn't stay on the darkness of the old theology, but he wants to have more light to understand more the Bible. And for this time period and for ours too is really important. So I will go down when the text said in the, it's not really in the middle of the paragraph, but before Bancroft part 1, the text says that Williams was the first person in modern Christendom to establish civil government on the doctrine of the liberty of conscience, the equality of opinion before the law. So we can find that Roger Williams really fit with this group of people. So we will just take a time upon this next sentence. He declared it to be the duty of the magistrate to restrain crime, but never to control the conscience. The public or the magistrates may decide, he said, what is due from man to man. But when they attempt to prescribe a man's duty to God, they are out of place and there can be no safety. For it is clear that if the magistrate has the power, he may decree one set opinion or belief today and another tomorrow. I would like to just I asked before, how can we define the conscience and I will say the liberty of conscience? Regarding this paragraph, how can you describe it? How can you define it?
He seems to be relating it to man's duties to God.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. If someone has another answer? No? So as the text said, there's a problem. So as the text said, it said that in the relation of God with man, no man has the right to, I will say like that, to intervene or to define what we have to think, or our, as to enforce our conscience. If we understand, if I can take an example, when the Puritans understand that they have to go back to the purity of the Christian faith, is what they understand through the Bible. And when we speak about the relation of God with his people, nobody can say that you are wrong. Even I will not say that you are right, but even you cannot intervene in this relation, because we understand that God is the only judge of the human faith, and is what the church tried to do in the history of Europe, the old world, but also in the history of America in the New World. So it's really interesting to read this passage and to underline these different concepts. And I just want to finish this presentation, and I would like to put in a line what we have seen here, but really in short. But before doing that, I would like to make a resume. We have seen in the previous line, when we was reading the chapter 25 of the Great Controversy, that the Constitution and the Declaration of the Independence was the desire of the first fled to America, which were the Pilgrim Fathers, the Puritans. And the text said that there are many want to find this liberty in a government, the civil and the religious liberty. And when we go to the chapter 16, we can understand that the quote in Great Controversy, chapter 25, is not so straightforward, because as we have seen that many Puritans want a government based on on religious and civil liberty, we have seen in this passage of the chapter 16 that many Puritans are not totally free from the darkness of the papal church. They didn't totally or only comprehend the great principle of the religious liberty. They want freedom only for themselves, and they don't practice the principle of equality, and that this first colony practice they establish a state church which has the right to judge according to their conception. They has the right to judge the faith of the human. And we see that in this colony, a spirit of intolerance was developed. And we understand that all these things is linked with the false doctrine, or the fact to conserve false, not really, yes, I can say in this case, false understanding. And by contrast, we have seen another group, and I have to mention that Roger Williams is as the text said, found the colony of Rhode Island. And it was the only colony which was based on the principle of the separation of the state and the church. And the few people at the beginning of the of the coming of United States who understand this principle want to make the church separate from the state. So I will just take the picture and I will erase, and to close, I will try the last line to put all these things together. Okay. So I will draw the line,
Sister Sophie,
which will combine.
sorry.
Yes.
The Roger Williams University is where those documents on how the Constitution become Christian, they were published.
Yes.
That he left a great legacy on that island that developed they developed a university, and that's where we get those documents.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this thought. Yes, because I know that in the presentation you make the link with the Roger Williams University and the pro bono works in favor of equality. If I can resume like that, and I would like to combine what we have said in the two first parts. So the Pilgrim Father, they arrived in 1620 in America. And as we understand, in 1798, America was founded in the principle that we can find in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. It's the principle that we found in this document that make America not great again, but give to America is grandeur. I think we can say this in English, this is grandeur. And as in the first chapter, the chapter 25, Ellen G. White linked this document to the arrival of the Pilgrim Father, we can see that they want something. They want a country based on civil and religious liberty, but in their time, they are not willing to give this right to the other. So here, I will put that, and we have seen that they establish a church-state relationship. Here, we can see that there is a church-state relationship, and is mainly the Puritan, I will say conservative, just to make a title. Puritans. Sorry. And here we have not speak about that specifically, but we know that in 1776 and 1789 we have those documents, the Declaration of Independence and Constitution. But what I want to underline in this part, I've not speak of it specifically in this presentation, but we understand that from that point, we can see a separation, an official, if I can see that, or at the level of the nation, we can see a disestablishment, which means that the church and the state, they are going to be separate. So here I just put constitution and the beginning of the disestablishment. And we know that the story is not so straight because we understand that here there's some kind of state that where the church and the state were separated. But in this history, as the disestablishment begins, we will not have in the whole country, in the whole 13 colonies, the separation of the state and the church, but is a progressive development until 1833, I think. So here I will put church and the state separate. Here in 1798, this process continue, church and state separate. And because, and in the, I will put the date of 1863. Because we know that regarding that the study that Elder Test has made, that we have from 1863, we will have 3 history will lead to the Sunday law. And we know that the Sunday law is the state and the church union together. So I will put here church plus state, which will be how can I say that? Which will be fulfilled, if I can say that, at the Sunday law. Here I've put conservative Puritans. Here we understand that is the work of liberal people like Roger Williams, or yes, I will just say Roger Williams. And as we see at the end, we understand that this work of put the church and the state together, we will be the work of conservative, not Puritans anymore, but conservative Protestant. And I just want to make the link really with the message that we are studying and that we are understanding. If we remember what we have seen in the board when we make the comparison and the contrast, there's 3 points we can put in this board. I will. That this group of people, they didn't want equality for all. No equality for all. They want to control the conscience. And they keep the ancient understanding of the Bible. I will just write theology, just to refer to understanding of the Bible. And we will see that And with the message that is developed, we can see these three elements when the Protestant church in America will enact the Sunday law or make the union with the church and the state, because they don't want equality for the minorities. So I refer to the race, for the women, and for the LGBTQ community. They interpret the Constitution as a Christian document. And by doing that, we understand that they can control the conscience. So here, I will just put interpret Constitution as a Christian nation, as a Christian document, sorry, as a Christian. And to finish, we understand that, as we say it in the message, how they read the Bible, because they keep ancient theology, they keep ancient, and I will not say in this case false, but ancient understanding of the Bible. And we understand that we have to go forward with the development of the light. So I will just, how do you read, just to make the point? How do you read? So this is it. It's what I would like to share with you today. I hope that I have been clear and that you have been blessed by this study. It was just really an input of the message of equality that we understand now, and how the Sunday law in our history will be put in place. So I hope this study helps you to understand better our history. So to finish, thank you everyone for your participation and for your time, for the time that we have shared together. And can I ask someone to pray really for this study? I don't know if I can ask Catherine to pray. Thank you.
Okay, let's pray. Dear Lord in heaven, we thank you so much for the study that we've had this morning. We thank you for Sister Sophie and the work that she put into preparing this, and the way that you've inspired her, and together you have taught us new things and helped us to really see the compare and the contrast between the wrong way of thinking and the right way of thinking. So we can really see that there, and we know there's that legacy that continued as well in that area on Rhode Island, and how amazingly we've been able to benefit from that even today with those articles about how the Constitution became Christian. So we thank you for all these ways that you're bringing light to us, and we pray that you would continue to lead this movement, continue to open up the truths that we need. Please continue to develop our characters. And please continue to prepare the hearts of the Levites and the Nethinims now, so that they'll be ripe for harvest very soon. And we pray that we would all be prepared as priests to give them that message that we will be bringing. So we thank you for this day and for this study and for your love. In Jesus' name, amen.